Close your eyes for 1 second and imagine this. You walk into a room, any room, a meeting, a date, a job interview, a random grocery aisle. 10 strangers see you. Nobody knows your name. Nobody knows your story. Nobody knows how brilliant you are, how loyal, how driven, how funny. And yet, every single one of them has already made a decision about you. Whether you're worth listening to, whether you're someone to respect, whether you belong in that space, or whether you fade into the wallpaper, all in less than 3 seconds. Now open your eyes. Scary? No, it's power, because those first 3 seconds are something you can control. Most people spend their whole lives trying to convince others who they are on the inside, while ignoring the fastest tool they have to communicate, and on the outside. Not to impress, not to pretend, not to show off, but to broadcast one message that the world cannot ignore. I take myself seriously, because here's the truth. Most people never say out loud, you are already addicted to your appearance. You just might be addicted to the wrong version of it. The version that settles, the version that blends, the version that hopes effort won't be required. But the moment you flip that addiction toward growth, toward discipline, toward showing up like the person you know you are or want to become, that's when everything changes. Doors open, people turn, respect rises, sometimes before you've even spoken a word. Not because you're vain, but because how you show up is a form of communication. And today, you're going to learn how to send a message so powerful. The world doesn't just see you. They can't forget you. Your appearance is the first line of communication long before your voice ever has the chance to utter a single word. We live in a world where people are constantly scanning, sizing up, making mental notes about one another, not because humans are cruel or superficial by nature, but because our brains are wired for survival. Long before language existed, we relied on sight to determine friend or threat, leader or follower, capable or incapable. That instinct still runs through us. You feel it when you look at a stranger and instantly sense something about them before they speak. Guess what? They are doing the exact same thing to you. When you step out of your home, walk into a meeting, enter a gym, or even pass someone on the street, your appearance announces your presence. It tells a story in a language everyone understands subconsciously. Posture, clothing, grooming, hygiene, body language. These tiny visual cues stack together into a powerful message about who you are, how you see yourself, and even what you believe you deserve. Most people think appearance is shallow, a surface-level detail that shouldn't matter. They say things like what's inside counts, and that's true, but only after you earn the chance to show people what's inside. The truth is, nobody gets access to your character, abilities, values, or wisdom until your appearance gives them a reason to take a second look. Appearance is the door. It's the first knock, the invitation, and you control every part of it. Think about how you feel when someone walks into a room dressed sharply, standing straight, moving with purpose. You notice them. Maybe you assume they're successful or confident. Now imagine someone else shuffles in with wrinkled clothes, slumped shoulders, eyes cast downward. No matter how intelligent or talented they may be, your brain instantly places them in a different category. You don't mean to judge them, it just happens. And because that instinct happens to everyone, it's happening to you every day. Here's the part most people miss. Your appearance is not just communicating to others, it's communicating to you. When you take the time to present yourself well, you are telling your own brain, I matter. My time matters. My life matters. That message shapes your energy, your confidence, and even your decisions. If you wake up and throw on anything, you're subconsciously saying, today doesn't require effort from me. But if you get intentional, even in subtle ways, you flip a mental switch. You walk differently. You show up bigger. You expect more from yourself and others. Your appearance is not about trends, brands, makeup, or money. You don't need expensive clothes or a walk-in closet filled with designer pieces. What matters is taking control of the things within reach: cleanliness, fit, grooming, neatness, posture, presence. A crisp shirt signals attention to detail. Clean shoes signal self-respect. Standing straight signals confidence, long before you feel confident. When you treat your appearance like it matters, you build a habit of self-respect brick by brick. And the more consistent you are, the more the world reflects that respect back to you. People respond differently when you look like you respect yourself. They listen more carefully. They offer opportunities more readily. They assume capability, leadership, discipline, and those assumptions can shift the entire trajectory of your life. Consider this. When pilots board a plane, they wear uniforms for a reason. When surgeons scrub in, they prepare deliberately for a reason. When someone wears a tailored suit or a well-maintained outfit, it signals readiness. It communicates, I am someone you can trust with responsibility. If professionals use appearance as a tool, why shouldn't you? Your appearance is also your silent resume. Countless doors open because someone makes a snap judgment in your favor. The job interview you never get because your appearance said you weren't serious, invisible. The partnership you gain because your presence radiated capability, also invisible, until you live it. People often say it's unfair that appearance matters, yet they invest hours rehearsing what to say while ignoring the faster part of the interaction, what is seen before anything is spoken. Someone sees you before they hear you. If that landing is shaky, the words won't fix it. But if you nail that first impression, if your presence commands attention, your audience leans forward, curious, receptive. Your appearance is a preview, like the opening scene of a film. If the opening looks sloppy, people assume the story will be too. If the opening feels strong, they trust the rest. Make your appearance your ally, not your liability. Use it strategically. Your posture, grooming, clothing, and presence can be your shield, your armor, and your announcement to the world that you have standards. You send a message every day, whether you choose to or not. So choose. Choose to walk out the door looking like someone who expects something from life and is ready to deliver something to it. Because when the world sees someone taking themselves seriously, it pays attention, and it listens long before you speak. Confidence is one of the most misunderstood traits on the planet. People act like it's a gift handed out at birth, something you either naturally possess or forever lack. But confidence isn't inherited anymore. Strength, intelligence, or discipline are inherited. It is built, crafted, developed slowly through action, repetition, and self-respect. And if you're willing to do the work, you can build more of it than you ever imagined possible. When most people talk about confidence, they imagine someone who walks into a room effortlessly, speaks without hesitation, commands attention, and never doubts themselves. They picture confidence as the absence of fear, insecurity, or nerves. That is a myth. The most confident people you see, the entrepreneurs, the performers, the athletes, the leaders, they all feel fear. They all second-guess themselves. They all face moments of doubt. The difference is this: they have trained themselves not to be ruled by those feelings. Confidence grows from exposure and repetition. Think about a time you were terrified to try something new. A new job, public speaking, the first day at a gym, meeting new people. The first time was uncomfortable. The second time was still awkward, but the more you repeated it, the less scary it became. Confidence is simply familiarity earned through action. What once felt impossible becomes normal. What once felt intimidating becomes routine. The unknown becomes the known. People often wait for confidence before they act. I'll speak up when I feel braver. I'll take that opportunity when I'm ready. I'll start the business when I feel more sure. But that's backwards. Action creates confidence, not the other way around. You step into uncertainty, you take the risk, you survive the discomfort, and you come out the other side knowing, I can handle that. That belief forms a mental muscle, and the more you use it, the stronger it becomes. That's why your appearance and daily habits matter so much. When you put yourself together intentionally, when you show up for yourself every day, even in small ways, you are laying the bricks of confidence layer by layer. You are proving to yourself that you care enough to invest effort. You are telling your brain, I'm worth this, and that message slowly reshapes your identity. Confidence isn't loud or showy. It's not a shout or a performance. Real confidence is quiet self-trust. It's knowing you can rely on yourself even when things get difficult. It's having a foundation built from moments where you acted despite fear. You start to believe in yourself because you have a track record. Small wins, small improvements, small commitments fulfilled. Think about a child learning to walk. They fall, they wobble, they crash into furniture. But every step teaches the brain, I can do this. They don't wait to feel confident before trying. They try, then confidence follows. Adults forget this. We get older, life gets louder, opinions weigh heavier, and we stop allowing ourselves to be beginners. We avoid discomfort and then wonder why confidence doesn't grow. But confidence only grows where effort lives. You build confidence every time you honor a promise to yourself. when you wake up early instead of hitting snooze, when you go to the gym even when you're tired, when you show up prepared instead of winging it, when you dress with intention instead of throwing something together. These moments seem small, but they are powerful signals. Your brain is always watching you. When you follow through, your brain learns to trust you. When you break promises to yourself, your brain learns to doubt you. Confidence is simply accumulated self-trust. People think confidence comes from compliments, success, or external validation. But if confidence depends on outside approval, it collapses the moment someone criticizes or disagrees. External validation can feel good, but it's fragile. The strongest confidence comes from internal reference, from knowing you earned your own respect. Confidence also doesn't mean perfection. You can know you're imperfect and still believe in yourself. In fact, confidence thrives when you accept your flaws, own your weaknesses, and work with them instead of pretending they don't exist. Insecurity screams and hides. Confidence steps forward anyway. Let's make something clear. Confidence is not arrogance. Arrogance is pretending to be more than you are. Confidence is acknowledging what you've earned and being willing to earn more. Arrogance hopes nobody notices your fear. Confidence doesn't care if they do. And just like muscles weaken without use, confidence fades when you stop training it. That's why intentional PR, presentation, disciplined routines, and daily choices matter. They don't just shape the body or appearance. They shape your internal belief system. They shape how you see yourself. You don't need to be fearless to be confident. You just need to keep going when fear shows up. Every time you face the discomfort, you send yourself a message: I can handle hard things. Every time you choose to rise instead of shrink, you expand your capability. Every time you push through a boundary, you redefine what is possible for you. Confidence is a byproduct of effort, resilience, and consistency. It does not fall into your lap. You forge it. You sculpt it. You earn it through sweat and repetition and self-respect. And once you realize that confidence is not a gift, it's a skill, you gain full power over your potential. Because skills can be learned, strengthened, rebuilt, and honed, and that means you are never stuck being who you were yesterday. You can build the confidence you need to become who you're meant to be. Discipline is one of the purest and most powerful forms of respect you can show, both to yourself and to the world around you. It's the quiet, unseen force that determines who rises and who stays where they are. While most people think about discipline as punishment, restriction, or sacrifice, the truth is far different. Discipline is devotion. It's the daily choice to value your own potential, your own time, and your own future. It's proof that you hold yourself to a standard, without needing applause, validation, or witnesses. Respect starts internally. You cannot expect others to value you if you rarely show value for yourself. And discipline is the clearest way to demonstrate that respect. It's not about perfection. It's about consistency. When you decide to take care of your appearance, your health, your habits, your space, you're saying something powerful: I believe I am worth effort. Effort is respect in action. Think about what happens the moment you begin to slip on standards. Skip one workout, let the grooming slide for a week. Throw on whatever clothes are nearby, stop cleaning up after yourself, hit snooze repeatedly. Each small decision might feel harmless in the moment, but it chips away at something far more important than your routine. It chips away at your identity. When your behavior stops aligning with the person you want to be, the gap between who you are and who you aspire to become widens. And every time you make a choice that contradicts your goals, your self-trust takes damage. Discipline reverses that process. When you follow through, even in tiny ways, you tighten the connection between self-image and self-action. You become someone who can rely on themselves, and that reliability, built brick by brick, forms the foundation of confidence, strength, and presence. But underneath all of that is respect. Discipline is the mechanism. Respect is the reward. Most people wait for motivation before acting. They assume that discipline comes from excitement or enthusiasm. The truth is the opposite. Motivation fades, feelings change, excitement wears off. Discipline carries you forward long after your mood stops cooperating. The ability to act regardless of how you feel is a form of maturity and a declaration of respect. When you show up even when you're tired, frustrated, distracted, or anxious, that's when discipline hardens into something unbreakable. And discipline pays dividends far beyond the act itself. When you take the time to care about your appearance, not for superficial recognition, but as a commitment to your own excellence. You broadcast a message without speaking. You show people who you are. You show yourself who you are. That kind of consistency creates reputation, identity, and presence. It tells the world that you take yourself seriously, which compels them to take you seriously in return. Look at anyone you admire. Athletes, entrepreneurs, leaders, creators. Behind every achievement is discipline. Long hours of practice, sacrifice, repetition, showing up when nobody else sees. The external result is what the world applauds, but the internal respect is what drives the process. They hold themselves to standards that most people aren't willing to honor. That's why their outcomes stand apart. But discipline does not need to mean hardship. It can be subtle, gentle, even elegant. It's the act of grooming yourself well, even if you don't have somewhere special to go. It's maintaining hygiene. And appearance, because you deserve to feel sharp and clear. It's choosing clothes that fit and reflect intention, rather than randomness. These actions signal, I respect my life enough not to treat it casually. That unstated declaration changes how you behave, and it changes how others engage with you. Discipline also detaches your self-worth from external validation. When you rely on discipline, you don't need someone to compliment you or praise you to feel worthy. You already know you're showing up for yourself. You already know you're maintaining your standards. That internal stability is something no compliment or criticism can shake. When you earn your own respect, you stop begging for scraps of approval from others. Another important piece, discipline shields you from regret. Most people underestimate how heavy regret becomes. The pain of not trying, not caring, not committing, not showing up, those regrets compound over time. The small moment when you choose discipline is also a moment where you shield yourself from future disappointment. You are investing in a version of yourself you haven't met yet, and that future self will thank you. There will always be days when you don't feel like doing the right thing. Days when staying in bed feels easier. Days when standards feel pointless, but those are the exact moments that define your trajectory. Anyone can be disciplined when life flows smoothly. It's when you are tested, when no one is watching, when fatigue creeps in, when excuses are easy, that discipline becomes a declaration of respect, and discipline eventually turns into freedom. People think discipline restricts you. In reality, laziness is what traps you. Lack of discipline limits your options, closes doors, shrinks your world. Discipline expands it. The more disciplined you are about your time, habits, appearance, goals, the more opportunities you create. You become someone others can rely on, someone who stands out, someone who commands attention and earns respect naturally. Ultimately, discipline is a daily promise kept. It's a long-term conversation you have with yourself through action. Every choice broadcasts what you believe you deserve. With discipline, you declare that your life matters enough to show up fully, every day, not just the days when the mood is cooperative. Respect is not something you demand or negotiate. It is earned, and it starts with how you treat yourself behind closed doors. Discipline is the vehicle that carries that respect from the inside out, until your presence silently tells the world everything it needs to know about you. Every single day of your life, you are casting a vote, whether you realize it or not, a vote for the person you will become, a vote for the life you will live. Most people think their future is shaped in dramatic moments, the big opportunity, the life-changing decision, the breakthrough event. But the truth is far more subtle. Your future is built quietly, brick by brick, through the small habits you repeat when no one is watching. Your daily actions are like compound interest, almost invisible in the moment but undeniable over time, and every habit you maintain or fail to maintain pushes your future in a direction, good or bad. Your future self is not a stranger you meet by accident. It's someone you are constantly creating through the routines, choices, standards, and practices you honor today. The way you speak to yourself, the way you treat your body, the way you invest your time, the way you present yourself. These aren't random behaviors. They are instructions your current self is sending forward. And nothing shapes those incoming instructions more powerfully than your habits. What you do every day becomes who you are. It's easy to dream about the person you want to become. Successful, confident, respected, admired, financially strong, physically healthy, mentally sharp. But there's a hard truth that sits underneath that dream. You cannot become that person with habits that belong to the opposite identity. A confident person doesn't hide behind baggy clothes and avoid mirrors. A focused person doesn't sabotage their mornings with chaos or let their appearance slip into neglect. A disciplined person doesn't just do things when it's convenient. They do them because it's consistent. Your habits shape your identity, and your identity shapes your habits. It's a loop. When you choose habits aligned with your goals, even in the smallest ways, you enforce the identity of someone who takes themselves seriously. For example, taking the extra 5 minutes to groom yourself well, choosing an outfit with intention instead of randomness, or holding your posture tall even when the instinct is to shrink. These decisions may feel insignificant on their own, but repeated daily they become a pattern. Patterns become character. Character becomes destiny. People often underestimate the power of the small things. They'll think skipping one workout won't matter, or wearing the sloppy outfit today won't hurt, or I'll start caring tomorrow. But habits don't judge scale, they judge consistency. Most setbacks don't happen from one bad decision. They happen when one bad decision turns into 10, then 30, then a lifestyle. And once standards begin to drop, identity begins to shift. The future self you were building becomes blurry, harder to reach, easier to dismiss as unrealistic. On the flip side, excellence compounds in the same way. Decide to show up a little sharper, a little more prepared, a little more intentional each day, and suddenly your future starts bending toward greatness almost without trying. You begin to feel more confident because your habits validate your worth. You begin to act more boldly because your self-image strengthens. Your reflection starts to match your ambition, and once you see proof in the mirror, your brain stops resisting change and starts expecting growth. It is not the dramatic transformation that matters most. It's the small rituals you don't negotiate with yourself. Making your bed every morning sends a message: I start my day with order. Grooming yourself with care says, I show up with pride. Dressing with precision implies, I respect my time and the people I will encounter today. Even if the world doesn't compliment you, your brain does. It keeps score. Your future self is always watching. Imagine that version of you standing years ahead, maybe stronger, wealthier, sharper, more disciplined. That version did not appear magically. They are the result of thousands of small choices stacked on top of one another. You don't need to leap toward greatness in a single day. You just need to stop abandoning the habits that point you in that direction. There will always be days when the future feels far away, when motivation fades, when routine feels pointless. But those are the days that count the most. Anyone can be consistent when life is easy. Your future self is built on the days when effort feels like work, when you don't see immediate payoff, when the temptation to cut corners whispers in your ear. Because every time you resist that whisper, every time you take the extra minute to look your best, to walk with dignity, to treat yourself like someone worth investing in, you strengthen the architecture of your future. And here's the part most people don't realize. Your habits don't just shape your future, they pull you toward it. When you habitually act like someone need disciplined, you become disciplined. When you repeatedly present yourself with care, you eventually believe in your own value. When your habits align with respect, confidence grows without needing a pep talk. The choice is continuous. Every morning you wake up with one question: will my habits today honor my future self or shortchange them? You don't control everything in life, but you control that. And that control is extraordinary power. Your future is not written yet. It's constructed in real time, in the ordinary moments, through small decisions that don't feel dramatic but carry incredible weight. Treat your habits like a blueprint. Treat your daily choices like currency. And treat your future self like someone you refuse to disappoint. Because if you show up for today with consistency, tomorrow will reward you with clarity and progress. And one day, your future self will look back and say, thank you for building me. There is a shift that happens the moment someone with commanding presence steps into a space, and everyone feels it, even if they can't explain why. No announcement is made, no speech is delivered, yet eyes turn, conversations pause for a split second, and awareness adjusts. Presence isn't just about what you look like. It's about what you broadcast without speaking. It's the silent authority that tells the room you belong there, that you came with purpose, that you expect to be taken seriously. And whether you realize it or not, that kind of presence has the power to reshape your opportunities, your relationships, your career, and your overall trajectory in life. People talk a lot about charisma, charm, and confidence as if they are traits granted to a select few. But commanding presence is not genetic luck, it's intentional construction. It's built through awareness of how you show up, your appearance, your energy, your expression, your body language, your discipline, and your belief in your own value. When those elements align, you give off an unmistakable signal. I am someone you should pay attention to. Presence begins the moment you enter a space. The world reads cues faster than you can form a sentence. Do you walk in lightly, hoping no one notices? Or do you move with ownership? Not arrogance, not a demand for attention, but a quiet certainty that you are allowed to occupy space. Commanding presence starts with that internal permission. People who shrink themselves for comfort never realize the opportunities they lose simply because they didn't look like they were ready to receive them. Your body language alone can change the outcome of interactions. Shoulders back, chin level, eye contact steady, not staring, not aggressive, just firm. When you stand tall, you take up space physically, and your brain takes up space mentally. When you slouch, cave inward, or avert your gaze, your nervous system interprets it as a threat, and your communication follows. Presence is about signaling safety to yourself and authority to others, but presence isn't loud. Some of the most commanding individuals barely speak. They don't rush to fill silence. They don't fidget or over-explain. They understand that stillness is power. When you are secure in yourself, you do not need to prove anything through frantic gestures or constant talking. People feel tension in frantic movements. They feel stability in composed energy. That stability makes others lean in. When you carry yourself like someone with intent, people assume there is something worth knowing. Appearance is part of presence, not for vanity, but context. Clothing and grooming are not decoration. They are cues. Crisp, clean, intentional presentation says more than you realize. It tells the world you cared enough to prepare, to show up, to represent yourself well. It implies professionalism, discipline, and seriousness. When people see that effort, they unconsciously elevate their perception of your competence. They listen differently. They treat you differently. They give you opportunities they wouldn't offer someone who looks like they haven't invested in themselves. The irony is that even if two people possess the same talent, discipline, or intelligence, the one who carries themselves with commanding presence will often earn more trust, more responsibility, and more access. It's not always fair, but it is real. Human beings follow signals more than words. We are drawn to people who seem grounded, capable, and aware. If you look like you expect greatness, others begin to expect it with you. Presence also influences how conflict and challenge unfold. When you carry yourself with respect, others hesitate before disrespecting you. When you look composed, people hesitate before underestimating you. And when you seem like someone who can handle pressure, you are given opportunities that others might not receive. That shift alone can alter a career, a negotiation, a relationship, or a chance encounter that becomes life-changing. But commanding presence is not something you turn on only in public. It begins long before anyone sees you. It's built in private habits, in the mirror, in the way you prepare your day, in the standards you uphold for yourself even when no one is watching. When you trim the loose threads on your clothes, when you polish your shoes, when you maintain your grooming, when you dress intentionally, you are rehearsing presence. You are teaching yourself that details matter, that you matter, that how you show up is a form of self-respect. Presence is also deeply tied to self-belief, but not the loud performative kind. Quiet belief, the kind that doesn't need praise to feel worthy. People with commanding presence do not beg for attention. They let attention come naturally because their energy demands it. They speak when they choose, not because they fear silence. They listen as much as they talk, and when they talk, there is weight in their words because their behavior already earned credibility. Your environment responds to your presence and mirrors it back to you. When you walk into a space with authority, people adjust how they behave. Conversations become more respectful. Interactions become more deliberate. When you show uncertainty or lack of self-respect, people reflect that uncertainty. Presence is like a radio frequency. You broadcast, and others tune their responses based on your signal. And here is the most empowering part. Presence compounds. The more you practice standing tall, dressing intentionally, refining your appearance, controlling your pace, and grounding your energy, the more natural it becomes. Soon, you no longer think about acting confident. You simply are confident. Your presence becomes a byproduct of discipline and belief you have repeatedly validated through action. Commanding presence doesn't just change how people see you, it changes what they offer you: promotions, partnerships, invitations, friendships, respect, trust. These are all influenced by how you present yourself long before you prove your capability. Opportunity doesn't always go to the most talented person. It goes to the person who looks, sounds, and carries themselves like they're ready. When you understand that, you stop dismissing appearance as shallow and start treating it as strategy. Presence is not about ego, it's about ownership. Ownership of who you are, how you show up, and the life you're building. When you command yourself, you command the room. And when you command the room, your outcomes shift in ways that people watching from the outside call luck, when in reality, it was earned long before you walked through the door. Every single day, you are telling the world exactly who you are, long before you ever open your mouth. And the truth that most people spend their lives avoiding is this: you are responsible for how you show up. Not society, not luck, not someone else's approval. You. Your appearance is not decoration, it is communication. Your confidence is not gifted, it is earned. Your discipline is not punishment, it is respect. Your habits are not random, they are construction. And your presence is not accidental, it is crafted. You do not need to be born special. You do not need to wait until you feel ready. You only need to decide right now to stop living unconsciously and start living intentionally. When you choose to take control of your presentation, your standards, and your self-respect, you flip a switch inside yourself that cannot be turned off. Suddenly, opportunities don't feel out of reach. They feel inevitable. People don't treat you like background noise. They lean in. And life stops happening to you and starts happening for you. So here's the final message. Become addicted to your appearance because it is a doorway to the life you want. Not the shallow version, the empowered one. Show up like you matter. Carry yourself like you believe in your value. Present yourself like your future depends on it, because it does. The world may never hand you a microphone, a spotlight, or an invitation, but when you walk in disciplined, confident, and intentional, the world won't be able to ignore you, even if it tries. Your life is happening now. Suit up, stand tall, step forward, and make your presence undeniable.